Hello and welcome. This is the Tiffany's Fitness Podcast, a podcast where I talk to coaches, athletes, and strength enthusiasts from all backgrounds about strength, coaching, life, balance, and more. My name is Tiffany, and today's guest is Kelly Manzone. You've seen her on Instagram doing all sorts of really cool things with the coolest collection of strength tools that you've ever seen. Like so many cool old like vintage style strength tools. So rad. Also like kettlebell sport and stick mobility. She just has a plethora of tools and knowledge, and she's so rad and so nice, and I can't wait for y'all to listen to this episode. So let's get into it, and I will check back in with you at the end. We're just, people, and I think that's also part of why I made the podcast too, is because I know people like get intimidated with coaches online. Like when I've met people or worked with people, people have been like, I thought you were going to be like really intense or mean or something. And I'm like,
You don't
no.
come across as potentially mean
I didn't
at all.
I thought like I was going to be like really aggressive or something. And I was like, I have Shrek on my wall. Like,
Hilarious.
I have Edward Cullen on my wall. What a part
I
about
love
me.
everything behind you is fantastic. I love it.
Like what a part about me makes you think I'm going to be intense. I care deeply about like my lifting and like being strong, but
Girl,
it's
your
also
barbell bench
fun.
presses are phenomenal.
Thank you. I got a barbell now for
Oh,
my
that's
home
awesome.
gym.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big investment piece once we got here. I was like, we moved here in January. We got the house. We got the house like middle of February, and I had been going back and forth since I don't know mid Colorado, being like, I think I should get a barbell, and my husband was like, you just get the barbell.
Oh yeah, just get it.
Just do it. You've been talking about this for literally 2.5 years. Get the barbell already.
This whole space is a corner of my living room. Like
Yeah.
I've taken over everything.
Yeah, we have the army gave us a house with extra bedrooms, so I have a room. They generally I think anticipate us to have had a child at this point in my husband's military career, and I don't have one, so I have a gym.
Hey, it's still your baby. Your gym is your baby.
It
And you have
is,
a fur baby.
and it costs a whole lot of money.
Oh yes. Trust me, I know
Never,
that.
yeah, because you have a
Fortune.
stunning collection of
Oh, yeah.
equipment.
These
Yeah.
are my children.
How did you like start collecting all of those?
Oh, do you
Because
want to put
that's
it in podcast? Are you already
yeah,
recording?
let's
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
am already recording. Let's do it. Let's
Okay. Well, I first became really interested in, well, I've always been a history buff, love
Mhm.
history. And I've always been intrigued by like physical culture and training practices and tools from around the world. So it was like in 2008, I believe, I did Art of Strength with Anthony DeLugio. So I'm in Connecticut. He was based out of Rhode Island, and I went to Rhode Island to do the certification. And his system incorporated a lot of like the old time strongman lifts. And before we even like snatched a kettlebell or cleaned a kettlebell, we learned how to do it with a barbell, a dumbbell, then the kettlebell. So he had like this progressive system, and he produced a ton of equipment, and I ended up getting pretty much everything that he had. Like the massive like bulldog kettlebell that I have is like a novelty piece, but I did get that. I have a Slater log that I got that year from back here. And the kettlebells that he made, that he was producing kettlebells here for a brief period of time, made in the US. And I've got 3 of those kettlebells, and I still use them, 10 plus, 15 years later, and or longer now. And I absolutely love them. And then around that time, I got introduced to circular training because he had these shot loadable balavas, the short maces.
Mhm.
Then I got pregnant, and shortly after my pregnancy, I was very ill with colitis after a very bad case of food poisoning. So it was in the news when Listeria and Salmonella were in the news for spinach and cantaloupe, and I had a salad
Oh.
that had both those ingredients. I was sick on Monday, hospitalized by a Saturday, and then I spent 3 years basically like emaciated. It was hell. And I lost a lot of my strength that I had worked so hard for. So when I started feeling better, I started using a little home training space. Like my son's little, what's it, Thomas the Train table or whatever, got moved. And I really needed this home space for my own healing because I was really sick. And
Yeah.
as I started getting stronger, I started kind of adding to my collection just because I mean, there was one time my husband got me 14 kettlebells or something like that for Valentine's Day when we were dating. So he knew what he was getting into.
That's good. That's good.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
I love it.
I think I found a good one. It's just
Yeah,
14 kettlebells.
because he supports all my crazy. So then
Yeah.
obviously the collection continues to grow. And as you know for yourself, and once you start swinging a mace, each one has its own personality. Each one has different feedback to the body. And when you're a mover like you and I are, we love that. So like the feeling
Yeah.
of the barbell that you just got could be different than the one that is that you use at the gym. So I
Mhm.
kind of just went down the portal of making it more of a movement practice that's going to stay with me for the long run, because now I'm in my mid 40s and I don't plan on slowing down anytime soon.
Mhm.
And then some of these are gifts or ones that I've had custom made, like the large jewelry. And then my mentor, Paul Vukovinsky, made hand turned these mill for me. And it just kind of continues. I've got a full thing of rack of kettlebells from Kettlebell Sport and
Yeah.
sandbags in my kitchen next to the garbage can as they do, as they put where they belong. And a lockbox
Yeah.
on my porch full of equipment, a rower behind the couch, a spinning bike in the bedroom. So there's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I've mostly got it in here at this point. My husband takes my sandbags like all the time because he's in the army, so they do rocks a lot. So
Yeah,
he'll
that's
just
a
he'll
perfect
steal
tool for him.
he steals my sandbags and throws them in his ruck pack so he can do his little rucks with
Great.
like a weight
Great
without
with
having
it.
to like yeah, and he loves it. So those randomly will disappear because he leaves the house before I usually get up in the
Mhm.
morning for those workouts. He leaves at like 5:36 in the morning, and I'm like awake, but like not a person. I'm not paying attention at that
You're like, I'm
point.
not ready to go
Um,
out now.
so like sometimes I come into the gym to do my training, and I'm like, where did all my sandbags go? Like, oh, and I have to check them. Did you take those? He's like, yeah, they're in my car. And I was like, okay, well, I was going to
I
use
love
those today.
it.
Can you bring them back? um, but yeah, I have all the kettlebells. I got two maces. I have three maces, but I only really use two. I have my 10 pound and I have my 20 something pound. I think it's like just over 20 pounds. And it's from Become Stronger and it's got the big
Oh, I love
thing at
that. Yeah,
the end.
yeah. I have one of those.
Yeah. I got an off-brand Bulgarian bag. I really want to get like a big, like one of those garage style shelving units so I can actually put my
That would
kettlebells
be
up.
great.
Because they're everywhere, my whole floor. So it might be nice to do that, especially with the barbell stuff now, because that's just sort of there. And then I have my clubs. I got some from Steph and Bill. They made me a
They're the
pair.
sweetest. They're
They're
the best.
so sweet.
And
I
I love
literally cried when those showed up.
they do such an amazing job. Like I know, and it has like your name and like they did my like little logo, and I was like,
They did my logo. Because they had texted me or they messaged me and were like, "Hey, what's your address? We want to send you something." And usually people like who I like I'm friends with online, they usually
yeah,
like send like a T-shirt that with their logo. So like then we like I can wear their T-shirt and like be like, "Look, this is my friend. I'm wearing their
right,
logo."
right.
And then I opened the box and I was like, "Did they send me freaking
They're
clubs?
so
Like, did I
thoughtful.
get and I like literally was like walking back to my house and I was like, oh my God, I think they sent me like beautiful handmade clubs right now. And I totally teared up because I made like a video for them and I was like trying not to cry as I was sending the video. I was like, this is like the most thoughtful, nice gift anyone has sent me. So thank you.
They're
I use
pure
those all the
heart.
time.
They've made some goddess for my clients also. And
Yeah,
my I got
they're
a
fabulous.
lavas also. I got a red pair of
Mhm.
their lavas. They're
Yeah,
great.
they're so cool. Then I have like a treadmill, which I like having, which I really needed in Colorado because it got like negative temperature. So there's days where you just don't get to go outside. And I have a climbing machine that I have not unwrapped, which I'm probably just gonna sell. It's this thing.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like literally like a climbing machine. A company
Climber.
reached out.
Like a
Yeah, and they were it's like a mountain climber.
Oh my gosh, you don't want that? I wish I lived nearby. I would take it off your hands. I don't know where I'd put it. I would take it.
I don't a company sent it to me and asked me to make video for them. And I made a couple videos for them and I never heard from them again. And I was like, okay.
Was it the start?
Yeah, it was just some little brand. They messaged me on TikTok. And I was like, okay. And then I was like looking it up because I was looking at like what the price was for it because I didn't pay for it. And then I saw my videos were there. I was like, oh, okay, cool. They did use them because I never heard from them again. So I was like, maybe they just like went under or they like didn't like what I made. But my videos are featured on their little website. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm glad that they got the use out of it. But like I haven't unwrapped it, and maybe if I got like a shelf thing, it would be easier to open it back up in here. But I just didn't use it that much. If I'm gonna do cardio, I tend to run or walk more than anything else.
That's true, but it's neat though.
It is neat. It is kind of neat. That's why I've held on to it for because I keep like going because there's like spouse selling pages because everyone's always selling stuff because everyone's always moving. Yep. So I keep looking at it, being like, maybe I'm gonna sell it, and then I go, oh, maybe not. Like I'm a little bit of an equipment hoarder. So.
Yeah. Speaking to one.
I'm just like, well, what if I want it? Like, what if I want it later? And I don't do that with a lot of things in my life, but like strength equipment because it's so expensive. I don't want to let go of it.
Expensive and expensive to ship. Yeah. Also.
Yeah, that too. And yeah, because I mean, like, luckily I didn't have to ship it or anything. Somebody, the army moved it for me.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't know. I just never really use it. I literally haven't unwrapped it since I got it here. I used it semi-regularly when I was in Colorado, especially in the wintertime, just to like mix up walking on a treadmill. But the winters here, I don't think are going to be as harsh.
It was brutal here. We had so much like rain. It was just depressing. It was not.
It rains here, like I mean, pretty much all the time, but it's not. But you can still like go outside. I don't mind like walking in the rain.
Yeah.
But in Colorado, there are days where it's -15, and you're just like,
you.
I'd put on 3 pairs of pants and 4 jackets, and I'd have to wear a neck gaiter and like cover my face up to take my dog out, and
cold.
It just like it's cold, and then. Like even if it's sunny, you don't get any of the benefits of that sun because you're fully covered because it's
no skin
bitterly cold. Yeah. So here, like it's raining, but I'm like, fine. Like it's fine. It's whatever. I don't mind rain. I like it a little bit more than wind.
I don't like it.
We'll see how I feel after like a full winter here because I got here like January 30th or December 31st. So
really? Wow.
Yeah. It was we moved here. That's why I had to take such a long break on the podcast because we lived in a trailer for 2 months.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, I thought you were like camping out or like living out.
I was. I didn't like it. But it was not by choice. It was because there's a waiting list to get housing because it's a huge base and there's a lot of people here. So they said it was only going to be a month, and it was not. So we were stuck living in a trailer park with I had no Wi-Fi. I had I basically had no cell phone service. Living in a 20-foot trailer with a dog and my tortoise. So neither of which were very happy about the situation.
Everybody was
and they got and they managed to have like the coldest cold snap that's ever happened here, like in like years. I was like, cool.
That's tough.
Yeah. I never really liked doing trailer trips as a kid, but I really did like it when I had to live there for 2 months. My dad actually just came up pretty recently and got because I put it in storage for him. Like pay, like, so because they didn't have to come up immediately after I moved.
Oh, it was your
And
dad's. You
yeah,
were
they came up.
awesome.
Yeah, they're I was like, "Hey, what if you guys just buy your trailer up so I don't have to pay for a hotel for 2 months?" And my brother is up here, so they sort of just like went up, saw him and left the trailer for me, and I was like, "Thanks." But he came up recently. My brother graduated from underwater welding school,
Okay.
and so he came up for his graduation, and he's like, "I'll take the trailer back," and I was like, yeah, cool. I don't want to be responsible for it at all anymore. It's a little bit stressful to be responsible for it
Yeah,
because I know
it is,
it's
right?
expensive.
Or
And it's wet here. So it's kind of like mold just grows. So I was like going in there and like
yeah,
changing out like those like humidity things. So I
yeah.
didn't, I don't want to like mess up their trailer because they like, my parents like going in trailer trips. So I was like,
And you
okay.
stayed on top of your training though. If you were
I did my best. It was not consistent in any way. It was not like I was doing like a program at that point. It
yeah,
was just like, okay, I'm gonna go outside for 30 minutes and lift something. And I would just set a timer for like 30 minutes and just do something versus like being in the trailer all the time. Um, yeah, it was really just like I'm gonna go do 100 swings and then stop and see
sometimes
if
you
I
just
feel like
gotta do that, you know?
that was a lot of it. Like I couldn't be very consistent because I was training outside and
Mhm.
sometimes it was like icy snow,
Yeah, you're
wet.
dependable.
I'm not gonna go outside and try to swing a bell in that. And my husband was going to work too, so it was
Yeah.
like me and the dog, and I can't leave my dog like unsupervised in a trailer. Like that's like it was like wouldn't be cool in the one thing, but like also it's like against the rules of the park. Um, so I was just sort of stuck in the trailer all the time. Uh, so I just like, leave the little screen open and swing a bunch of times, be like, okay,
The gym,
let me see
right?
if I feel like that. Huh?
Aren't you also a member at a gym though too?
Oh yeah, I was trying out the gyms out there. Because there's like as I live on base, so there's like a million gyms. So I was like testing out gyms, which was easier when my husband didn't work until like a few weeks in. So when he was not working, I was able to be like, peace out. I'm gonna go check out this gym that's right here. I'm gonna go check out this gym. But once he started going back to work, I was kind of more stranded until he got back from work at whatever time in the day, which is always random because it's the military. We never know. So yeah, I was trying out some of them. I really haven't gone since I moved into we got an actual house because I have a bar now. And that was why I
Yeah.
went to the gym.
I like doing both. I would say like most of my workouts are at home, but then, like today I fit in a great session in between clients. But the home training space is something that is, if you could have one, it's really it gives
Yeah.
back.
It's really nice. The only thing I really want to fix in here is the flooring. Like I need to
Mhm.
get like stall mats or something. Like good ones
I
that don't move.
this mat I've had for maybe 6 years now, and it was like $125 off of Amazon, 6 by 8 feet. Probably needs to be like replaced, but I keep take good care of it. But it's amazing what you could do with limited space.
Yeah, it's just it slides like all
Oh,
the
it
time.
does? Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So like and this is the flooring I had in my last place and it like every now and then would, but here it's like well, if I'm doing snatch sets, if you watch from like an 8-minute snatch set video from the beginning to the end, I have moved
It works.
backwards just by like the pressure of me moving backwards. So like and you can see like the little like goes up or it goes
Yeah.
underneath. So it's just like a little bit annoying. And like it's not annoying enough that I'm gonna go like replace it right this second, but it is not like super ideal. But eventually I'll probably replace it.
Are you gonna
What
do a
was that?
comp? Are you competing again?
I'm competing on Saturday.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, yeah.
Where? Where? Or is it virtual?
At No, I'm going to Everett. It's K2. They used to be called Crazy Monkey.
Mhm.
Um, so they have a competition on Saturday. I went up. It's like a couple hours north of me. I went in February. I have a client who's like semi local here, and I was like, if I'm up there. got to do my best to like go see your event because I like live in the area. And I went, and it was the night before we had gotten the keys to this house, and everyone was like, "Oh, are you gonna come compete? Are you like lifting today?" I was like, absolutely
Like,
not. Like,
time to prepare.
I've been sleeping in a trailer for 8 weeks. No, my back hurts all the time right now.
Biathlon, right?
Uh, I am just doing snatch this time.
Oh, gotcha.
I did biathlon in my last competition. I did that in December, have been 22 was the
My
last
last
one.
competition was I did March of 2023.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did the Georgia uh not it's not is it Deck the Bells, it's Jingle Bells. Deck the Bells was cores. Um that's what I did. I my client was competing and she was like, "You should do it." And I was like, "I'll do it. I'll do a virtual comp with you. That's fine." So
Yeah.
we both did the comp. And also I hadn't competed in biathlon in a really long time. Because the last time I did it sucked. This time was better.
I thought it was my last competition. I think that was my seventh one, and I'm debating whether to go down to like one bell. What I'm noticing now with like being in my mid 40s and starting to have some changes is just the grind of that heavy volume definitely produces like this like cortisol like response, you know, with the clean and jerks when the duration gets
Yeah.
longer and the bells get heavier.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. But I like double bell because I don't know if it's because I'm Libra, but I feel like balanced with those two bells. I
Mm,
don't like the single bell, but like I might do one more single bell competition because I've done two single bell just to kind of
mhm.
compete and maybe
Yeah. You could
the
maybe
body.
try like a bolt style one too, or where you can put the bells down with the volume. That's always nice.
Yeah, I gotta look into the options that are out there. I feel like also
Yeah.
just like right now with scheduling and you know, my son's 14, but now it's like his schedule is so busy and he's going into high school, which what? Oh my God. And it like you really need to make sure that you could dedicate to a warm up and train properly. And I feel like I would be too rushed right now
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Especially for doubles.
hmm
There's you can't skip out on your warm ups at all.
No. Mm-mm.
Because if
I love snatch, but for some reason I enjoy hardstyle snatch and sport long cycle. Like I haven't had the
whatever
urge
works.
to do, yeah, but like I
Yeah.
want, you know, maybe I should like kind of push myself into trying it, at least one competition doing a snatch. But every time I
I mean,
kind
that's
of,
my favorite. So
yeah, yeah. So with like a
that's
lot
what I
of my
love.
friends that are snatchers, and there's something about like I love that the leg drive of the jerk. I love
Yeah,
like
I mean, it feels very powerful.
it does.
Like the clean and jerk and the jerk feel very powerful. And then it feels really hard. So
It's really hard.
it's really, really hard. My issue at this point in my like training with long cycle and jerk double bell work is I can't also bent press at that point. I found that like that combining like when I did that biathlon set couple years ago, I was also doing bent press stuff and I couldn't do like physically, I just got wiped. Like I the amount of volume from doing jerks and then the just the weight being under like heavy weight of a bar or a kettlebell. I don't remember what I was doing at the time. It was my body was I was just tired. Like I couldn't recover fast enough to between training sessions and like I was eating and I was doing all the things you're supposed to do, but I still just I couldn't catch up. So I can't do all of it. So
I have that same feeling, and then it's interesting. Like I don't know if it's just my body type, but I don't know if this happens to you when I train in sport, and like I my body starts to feel like heavier and slower in a way. Like
when I train doubles for sure.
yeah, like all of a sudden, like you know, by the time we get to the competition, I don't feel like light on my feet on the platform. I feel just like I just feel like I could like literally like the Kool-Aid
Sink through
man
the floor.
like go through like a wall. Like I'm like, duh. I just feel so solid, which is great. I don't mind being muscular at all.
No,
I just
not at
feel
all.
like slowed down and just like heavy. It's a weird feeling. I don't know if you get that with doubles. Do you get that too?
I Yeah, I like yeah, I just feel yeah, like thick. Like I feel like yeah, heavy, thick, like I don't feel light on my feet for sure at that
Yeah.
point. Snatch I do. Snatch I feel pretty fluid with that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But with jerks, yeah. But also like sport, when I first started doing sport, I was like a little skinny, lean bean. And I could see as I started doing long cycle and as I started doing like long sport sets, my quads and my shoulders, my traps growing.
You out in California with Brittany and them?
Mhm,
That's right. Holy freaking fuck.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brittany was my first coach.
Yes. That okay. Because now we're going back like basically 7 years.
And I think that's when I started following you. Well, when I first got onto Instagram, I had one little Walmart orange kettlebell, and I went on Instagram and I made an account and I was like, I'm just going to follow kettlebell people. And I ended up following Kim Fox, was
Yeah,
like the
she's
first kettlebell
amazing.
person.
One of the honestly one of the best athletes out there, hands
She's
down.
yeah, like,
Hands
in
down.
the world, yeah,
Yeah.
but she just happened to be when I searched kettlebell at that point when it was very small, like,
Mhm.
community, she is who I found,
Yeah.
um, and and from following her, I ended up following all the other kettlebell people, like,
Yep.
Kit like Britt and Dan and you and like all sorts of people. And I just stumbled into finding sport that way.
Yeah.
like I just happened upon sport, like which is wild because hardstyle was definitely the dominating style at that point. Like people weren't
That's
really
my
doing
background
sport.
is hard style. And
Hmm.
with I got into sport because my friend Yuri, so we were coworkers and friends here in Connecticut for over like 13 years. And when my son was born, he started American Kettlebell Alliance. So he came over and was like, can you help me translate Russian to English? And so he started that like 14 with yeah, almost 14 years ago now. And then I delayed kind of getting on the platform for quite a few years because I had that colitis and everything. And then
Hmm.
so I was like, sure. I'm like around that time too, mace competitions were starting to
Hmm.
occur alongside with the AKA competitions. But what I think I did was I went right off the bat with doing too many back-to-back training cycles and then like helping, I was helping set up the events. So it was like driving through the night, unloading a trailer, talking to everybody, competing, breaking everything down, packing up the
That's
trailer.
exhausting.
It was like too much. And then I
Yeah.
was like, I'm more of like, I guess you could say like I really, really respect both styles. And I'm like, I remember it was at one of the Arnold's because I think I competed there twice, was watching, I don't remember where the guy was from, but he did a 10-minute set, long cycling his body weight. And I had never,
Wow.
it was the most amazing. I mean, like he was
10 minute set.
yes, and he
Oh
made
my
it the full thing. And he had the bells and he's going, and he's making noise and he's staying and
yeah.
he's not putting them down. And then he would jerk and we were like, oh my God, oh my God. And
That's
then his
so
coach would
crazy.
like keep him going and he's up there. And I'm like, his own body weight for 10 minutes. Like, what?
The mental strength in order to, like, not put the bells down under that is so phenomenal. Like, physical strength, obviously, that's, like, a phenomenal physical feat, but,
Yeah.
like, mentally to, like, keep yourself in it at that point,
Mhm.
uh, so impressive. Because my brain is like, "Maybe we should put the bells down when I'm doing 16s."
Oh, yeah.
Like
Pop in my head. And then, like, I was very fortunate. Lorna moved to town. So my last training
Oh,
cycle,
cool.
I got to like Lorna lives literally 5 minutes from my house. So I was training with her at her basement and doing the coaching from Jeff in at RX. And
Mhm.
what, she's an amazing athlete and just
Yeah.
she didn't even really train long cycle much, but she was going to do long cycle for one of the competitions. And she's like, yeah, I'm just going to do a 10-minute set today. So here I am counting for her and and she nails at like 110 reps. like out of nowhere,
She's so good.
because she's so damn good. Not out of nowhere, it's because she's very
Been
dedicated,
training for years and yeah.
incredible athlete, and she has the endurance. And meanwhile, I'm like, I got my 86, and I'm just like, because I've realized that like the one thing, and maybe you've noticed this too, with the difference between like hard style and the endurance of kettlebell sport. I went down the entire rabbit hole of having like a full like heart evaluation because I was wearing my heart rate monitor during my last training cycle. I had never worn it during previous training cycles, so I have no idea how high my heart rate was going, but I will get into the mid to high 190s in kettlebell sport. That's the only like long cycle double bell is the only lift that gets my heart rate that elevated. And I could sustain it for 10 minutes. And I was like, that's crazy. So like Lorna is like, man, your heart rate is like really high. And then I would like take a picture and send it to Jeff, and he's like, "Yeesh." I don't feel like I'm gonna pass out. I don't feel I could still speak. I'm not lightheaded, I'm not dizzy. So I was like, well, I'm gonna be 45. I don't want to like keel over. So let me just get an evaluation. And it was really neat because I went down the whole rabbit hole, and my heart is perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
I've got a very healthy resting heart rate. And what the cardiologist was saying was, how because everybody discusses like training zones, but I'm like an outlier. I will never fit into because it's a loose estimate anyway. But it was interesting to see how, like, I think one of the reasons why I do struggle in the endurance with kettlebell sport, especially with double bell, is I am going to get that higher heart rate and I sustain it for a long period of time. Whereas like Lorna was 20 beats less than
Per
a
minute,
minute
yeah.
than me,
Yeah.
so I just realized, I was like, oh shit, I'm probably putting a lot of stress on my body personally, even though I feel fine and I
Mhm.
recover quickly. But maybe that's not the best to be like always training into the 190s like
That
that.
capacity of yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, kettlebell, like, long cycle jerk cardio is, like, some of the most high intensity cardio out there, and I'm always like, when people come into the sport, because I tend to coach a lot of, like, beginners into the sport, and I'm like and they always are like, well, like, coaching men, they always wanna, like, grab the heavy bells, and I'm like, "You're not gonna be able to do the
Yeah.
heaviest bells that you can clean and jerk for this time. You have to go lighter." And they're always like, "Oh, maybe just try." I'm like, "Okay, try it. Just
Yeah.
try it. I'll let you do it." And then they're like 90 seconds later in a 2-minute set, I can't pick the bells back up. Yeah, it's hard. This is a different sport. This is a different beast than your regular cardio and than your regular strength training. This is combining all of that. So you have to be like cognizant of that and and adapt to that way that's so you're not gonna, keel over
Crazy.
on the platform.
Because I've developed exercise induced asthma recently from hormonal changes.
Mhm.
And I had never had an asthma attack before. And my first asthma attack was at Lorna's house, and I didn't really know what was going on. It was in my programming when I started getting into like 3 by 3 or 3 by 4 minute sets. So three
Mhm.
minute sets, like, minimal break into 3 minute sets or four, and those longer sets. And all of a sudden I was like, man, I'm coughing my ass off like 1 minute after I put the bells down. And I thought maybe it was because of a candle or something like that. I'm like, this is weird.
Mhm.
And it happened a couple other times. And then I realized I've went to the doctor, like, oh no, you've developed asthma. And I'm like, what? I've been a lifelong athlete. What are you talking about? Like, because they never really tell you
Uh,
that, like, you could, as you get into your mid 40s and your body changes, that these things could happen to you. I feel like there's so much information that is not kind of being shared with athletes and just the general public too. But seeing the difference in like, or tracking my heart and then having that experience with like the asthma, it's just interesting. So it's like I don't feel like I need to like slow down anything, but I
yeah.
just need to adapt and train smarter in a lot of ways.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I've never done like a heart rate monitor while I did any training. That would be really interesting to see
I'm
how
fascinated. I
it
would love to know like where other people are at. But like,
I definitely have one. I
yeah,
used it when I did half marathon, right? I ran a
yep,
half marathon. So when I was training for that, I used it so I could, train for the half marathon and be in certain zones and not,
yeah, yeah.
uh, so I wasn't, killing myself. I still was because I was, 24 and training like an absolute asshole. But I had my little heart rate monitor, so I felt really cool. But I haven't used it really since then. It's in my little basket over here. Probably need to get some batteries, but it would be
I would
interesting to
totally
see
be
how it.
intrigued, like what your readings would be when you were doing your double bell, even double bell jerks. It's the leg drive
Yeah.
because leg drive drives the blood to the heart.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
like I took a group fitness class not too long ago, and we all had to wear heart rate monitors, and there was like 20 people in the room, and I had the highest heart rate out of everybody in the room. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm still fascinated by it. But he said, like, you have like a heart like a hummingbird. You're just genetic, it's genetic. And I
Mhm.
just find that fascinating because like if you read a lot of programs or like the protocol for like zone 2, I don't fit into zone 2. So my zone 2 is like a zone 3.
Yeah, higher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that and, like, also just, like, that versus, like, what my regular strength training versus, like, running, that'd be interesting because my runs tend to be pretty easy. I don't run super hard usually at this point.
Mhm.
My runs are either, like, easy, slow, or they're intervals because I'm running with a dog who
Yeah,
requires,
yeah.
breaks, who wants to smell things and pee and jump in the
Oh,
lake a
yeah.
couple times. So, like, I at this point, I just sort of when I started running with her, I'm like, we're running an interval, like, and that's fine. I don't have to adapt for that. But and sometimes those get fast because she sees a squirrel and all of a sudden we're sprinting. But generally, they stay.
Yeah.
Generally, they stay like I don't know, like at like an 8-minute pace or something like that, or
Great. With a
yeah, and then we walk down. Yeah, with she's
dog.
faster than me.
That's awesome.
So but like nothing like where I'm like at the end of it going like
Sorry. That's my dog. She hears my
oh,
neighbor's dog. I don't know if you could hear
and
her.
honestly no, I couldn't. I
Okay.
I'm surprised she was running around with a toy and then she put it down and I was like, good. 'Cause
Maggie,
oh there I heard that one.
I'm gonna go grab her. Hold on 1 second,
Yeah, no
Maggie.
worries.
Good girl. But I focus on like how many beats I could recover in a minute after I stop
Mhm.
exercising. So like I think like they say it's healthy if you could recover like 20 to 35 beats per minute, but like you're really fit if it's in the 35 beats to 50. And even this morning at the gym, I was on the assault bike and I'll do like 1 minute going hard and then I'll just start to work on my recovery. So I'll spike my heart rate and see how many beats I could drop. And I'll get, in general, like 35 to like 40 something beats in 1 minute. So that's what
Yeah.
the cardiologist was telling me to focus on. Forget about like your high end and working on, worrying about that. Focus on your
The
recovery.
drop.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I find that that's been just fine on like for my cardio wise. Like once I stop doing something, very quickly I can get back to like normal speaking, breathing within like when I'm doing like 2 minute snatch sets where you're going super fast the whole time. By the end of that minute, I'm like of rest, I'm like fine, ready to go again, no problem. So I'm like, okay, that feels good cardio wise. So like I'm in
Yeah.
the right spot. My cardio though generally has been improved by moving to sea level, coming from Colorado.
Sure.
Because when I was in Colorado, uh, the whole time there were like at the very beginning was obviously tougher, but generally cardio was harder. Like, it just was harder to do sport sets, it was harder to go on runs, and since being down here, I've, uh, been like, "Oh, I like running." I forgot that, like, because when I was in Colorado, there were I still have a dog, I still have to run even if I didn't, like, want to. I wasn't really enjoying it, like, the whole time, I'm just like, "Man, I just can't catch my breath." There was no you're dry the whole time, like, I had to chew
Adapt to
gum,
it
carry
while you
water.
were there or not really?
What?
Were you able to adapt to it over a period of
A
time?
l Yeah, it was definitely better by the end, but, like, it was never as good as it was when I lived in San Diego or now that I live here.
Yeah.
Because I have like Nike Run Club. That's how I track my runs. And my times when I lived in Colorado were definitely slower. The first like 2 weeks when we got here, I was running so easy. I was
That's
like, this is the
the best.
but this is great. This is the best day ever for me. Me and Delilah went and did like 5 miles, just easy, and I was like, this is awesome. So I definitely adapted in some way, but like it was never as good as it was here. Also, it's just so aggressively dry, because you're so high up. So like you take 2 breaths and you're like, oh, I'm dry in my lungs now. So, uh, but now it's great. Now I'm like, oh, I can enjoy running again. Um, I'm back feeling good about it because I used to just like I said, I did a half marathon. I used to just run like all the time.
Oh,
So,
I ran recently, but like most of my cardio, I have to say, is like my rower, hydro, the bike. I do a lot of sled work at the gym,
mm,
and then I like the ski erg. But I went on the treadmill one day, and I was like, oh, I haven't run in a while, and boy, did I noticed it had been some time. Like for 30 minutes, I was like, oh God, why do my legs feel like lead? Duh.
yeah, yeah. I mean, some days are just like that though. Some days, even if you're feeling really good and you're really strong and your cardio is awesome, some days you just go, oh, everything's heavy today.
Yeah, that happens, that's for sure. I notice that now, like if with sleep, like if I don't sleep well, training can be tough.
Oh yeah, sleep is huge for my training. I feel like I sometimes if I don't get a good sleep, I'll just not train. Just
Mhm.
no, it's not worth it. It's not worth me being that fatigued to
Oh,
do it. And like in this week in my lead up to a competition, I'm really focused on sleeping well.
of course.
Uh making sure that I'm like going to sleep at a good hour and like staying asleep and like setting that little routine really well. So hopefully I don't like psych myself up and wake up at like 4:30 in the morning on Saturday.
I
Uh
don't sleep well before a competition at all. Like
I
before, I'm
I
like,
haven't competed in
fine.
person since 2019, so I'm
Oh,
a
you'll
little
be fine.
nervous
You'll
about
be
that.
so excited to be around people. Plus, when you have like people in front of you, I just stare at some. I don't even, when I'm actually on the platform, it's like I get tunnel vision. I don't
Oh
even,
yeah.
people's faces like blur and I just stare forward. And in my head, I'm just keep going. Don't put it down.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm in here or like when I was doing like sets, like competition sets in my like home gym in Colorado, just, there's like a spot on the wall, and that's what I look at. So
Yeah,
presumably that's what's going to happen, except for I'll now have the added benefit of people cheering for me versus me
yeah,
doing
it
it by
helps
myself.
so much. Especially that last
Um
90 seconds. You're
yeah.
like, help me out,
Yeah, please, please. Especially
people.
my left side's been a little bit struggle bus. So I'm hoping I can outlast my right side like a little extra time so my left side can
What size bell are you using?
16.
There you go.
Yeah. I decided since because I mean I haven't competed like I did the 16 biathlon. I did the 20 snatch and I got like
Okay, I thought you
CMS.
did 20 before. Didn't, but you did
Hmm.
a also like, didn't you do a double bell with 16s?
Hmm.
Yeah, fuck. I cannot get
Yeah.
my heart, that's what I've noticed is like in the longer sets, if I was doing I wanted to bump up to 16s, but I'm hypermobile and
Mm.
into some trouble sometimes, like when the fatigue sets in and I'm trying to jerk the 16s from my hips. I mess myself up. Like,
Yeah, I did 20s. I did 2 or 3 competitions with 20s. Actually, the last competition I did in person was a 20, snatch. It was my first time doing it in competition. And then I did the 20 where I got a CMS at home, like in my little home gym. And then I got really into bent pressing. And it was like well, I'd rather bent press really heavy than than
yeah,
snatch
you're a
really
bit.
heavy.
I remember when you started sharing and then you like nailed it, girl. Bench press is the thing.
Yeah.
fantastic lift. It really
It's
is.
my favorite. I think that's pretty obvious on this front, but, like, it's such a cool it feels so good when it feels good.
Gratifying.
And I feel the same way about Snatch, like, with sports
Yeah.
Snatch. The days that it feels good, it feels, like, amazing. And same thing with, like, back and forth with both of them. And even on days they don't feel great, they still feel pretty good. But I've never found that with, like, jerks. Like, those sometimes they feel fine, but I never doing jerks going like, "This is great. I'm having a good
I would
time."
try, um, I think I would try a 10-minute set of just jerks, but then I would have to biathlon and I'd have to snatch.
Yeah. You can snatch.
Yeah. I just don't know if I could, it's just
If you don't want to.
it's just knowing that sheer volume of fitting in the training. Cause like you said, like, I really don't want to like not do the other stuff that I do,
The biathlon training, that's kind of it. Like, that's what you're doing if you're
that's
doing
what
biathlon. Um, it's a lot. It's so much volume. So basically my other days were just like
walking,
ways to support my
mobility. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of mobility and okay, I haven't done a lot of like deadlifts because I've been really focused on my explosiveness
Yeah.
in my jerk. So I have to do some deadlift type work or stuff like that. Yeah,
Do you
it was also just like
mobility?
uh,
You have stick mobility too, don't you? I thought you had
I
some
don't
stick
have
mobility. Oh,
I did have some PVC pipes, but those did not make it.
oh, gotcha. Yeah, stick mobility helped me through like all the training cycles, like to offset all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, your stick mobility is great. I we had the when I worked at Core, when I trained at Core too,
Oh yeah, they
there
had
was
some,
always they had
yeah,
stick mobility, and that
they
was awesome.
bow and arrow, like all those, like, oh my God, that helped me. Because with hypermobility, you could get yourself, I mean, it's like it was a blessing when I was a child athlete. And then, then you get into like adulthood and hypermobility could really get you into trouble. So it's like getting that stabilization and strength, but also like mobilizing that fascia from all that overhead work to offset it. It's such a good,
Yeah.
for some reason, I thought you had them. Yeah.
Because I definitely use them when I worked at
Yeah.
Core. But I don't think they sold the sticks. I think who someone had those and they just took them. They sold a lot of their stuff when they closed. That's how I have like all of my bells,
Yep.
basically. Um, and a couple pairs of my clubs. Those are from Core when they shut down.
I think Kristen's in
Um,
photography now. I don't know what happened to Dan though. Yeah, I don't think he's really on media anymore.
Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of
He's not
people that I realized, like, since like, when you and I connected and everybody, a lot of people are completely off media now, which I totally
mhm.
understand. It's like
I
you and I
feel it.
talked
I
about.
get it. I too would like to not be on the internet sometimes. I was like really consistent about posting for a really long time, and now I'm just like I just can't. I can't put this much energy and effort into like sitting and editing and
Yeah.
making a caption, and then like 17 people see it, and I'm like, okay, like
Come to the, like, just I guess the ride at this point where, it's about prioritizing where my energy is going. And so like if I feel like I've got time for it, great. I'm not like, and if I don't, that's okay. I don't
mhm.
feel the pressure that I once kind of felt to like stay as consistent, because it's just life is too busy right now. And with a teenager, I want to be
Yeah.
there. I want to be, and I don't want to be with my son and be on my phone. Like right
Mhm.
now, he's going into high school. These next few years, it's really important for me to make sure that I'm present. I'm present with him and not like distracted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, that makes sense. And I mean, I don't even have that as a reason, and I'm still like, I don't
That's
wanna be on
just
the
in
internet.
general, right? You got other stuff that you're doing. Speaking of which, I see
Yeah.
time. Oh, I gotta leave in about 10 minutes to go get Leo from school.
Yep, that's cool. That's what I was thinking. We're good. Uh, yeah, no, I just it's just a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of time, and, like, who cares? Who cares about what's posted on social media? Especially when the stuff that, like, gets seen and, like, people want is not helpful. So, like, the content where I'm, like, putting a lot of time and effort, like, breaking
Yes.
something down, generally people aren't interested in that. They like my juggling videos, which is fine because I like making juggling videos and I like juggling. But
Definitely
that's not really
with
what
juggling.
was that?
You and Stephanie are very talented with juggling.
Yeah, thank you. It's so much fun and I love doing it. And I love putting together those flows, but that's not really like something I coach people a little bit on juggling and
Yeah.
whatever, but like that's not like connecting with people in a
It's just
way
one
where
part.
they're wanting to buy like training from me, which is kind of the point of my profile. So people buy training from me, not to be like a salesperson. 'Cause nobody likes that. But
No,
also this is my job and
I
how I
hear
pay my
you.
bills. So it's like I want to like look, this is very interesting. I love doing it. But people don't buy. That's I think
Well,
it's
things
purely
have
an
just
entertainment.
changed. There's been like it's really changed over the past like 4 years too. And then all of us that, we really had to get creative and stay present during the pandemic based on like what your work model was. For me, it really helped out like greatly for that. But then my in-person business is doing really well, like fully recovered. And so there's only so many hours before I get Leo from school and switch into mom mode. And sometimes like today, after I get him, I've got a Zoom session with my client
Mhm.
who's in California from 3:30 to 4:30. Then it's like, so it's just one little component of like the bigger
The
picture.
whole thing.
I
Mhm.
enjoy it and I don't want to get rid of using media, but I think now it's like I've realized like I just have to kind of let it flow with like whatever sequence I'm in that day, that week.
Yeah.
And like if I
Yeah.
have a workshop coming up, then I'll kind of like amp it up, if
Amp it
it
up so people see it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, all my stuff's online at this point because I move every few years. So
I know my friend Sarah did. So her husband was in the Air Force. He just retired. And since we've been friends, we met probably about 7 years ago through Instagram. And she's one of my bestest friends. And gosh, she was in North Dakota. Then she was like in Illinois. Then she was in Germany. Then I forget where else she was. And now she's settled in Washington. So she's a running coach. So she's a
yeah.
distance runner. So she trained ultra marathon runner and she teaches people for half full and ultra runs. And I forget what company she works for, but she's doing all virtual too. And I'm mainly in person. And then I have a few online clients. And most of the people that I work with online are fellow fitness professionals because they're looking for, you know,
Someone
um,
to tell them what to do so they don't have to think about it.
or skill like they
Yeah.
want either mace club or combo. Some people want just like coaching,
Yeah.
like full fitness. So it's a lot of fun. At least like it's opened up the doors for us to be able to do that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love the online coaching. Like I have clients I work with like in Australia. Like that
I love when that happens.
it's so
So cool.
cool.
Yeah.
And like there's people who I obviously would have never worked with in person. Actually, only one of my clients well, 2 now, but, like, it was one as a client I've worked with since I lived in San Diego.
Mhm.
And
I
we've been
love San Diego. Oh my God.
yeah, she
Love
was
it.
she I taught her she would come take my classes at core, and then when I moved to a different gym after core closed, she came took my classes there. And then when I moved out and everything shut down, started doing online coaching with her, and she's been, with me since then. So, like, for a really long time. Uh but she was the only person I had met in person out of all of my clients up until February when I met my other client who I'd been working with for like a year at that point. And I was like, oh my God, you're a real person. This is great.
Where?
I saw her from like across the room and I was like, there you are. I've only ever seen you in like this or like via videos on the internet or through Google photos of her sets.
Yeah, and I want to do a couple of certifications like later in the year. I got to kind of map
Mhm.
out what I could fit. And, it's hard too because there's been quite a few things that I've wanted to do, but it never lands on like the weekend when I could do it. And I'm like, oh, but I,
Yeah.
I love meeting people through continuing education like that too. That's a blast. Or through the kettlebell sport competitions because kettlebell
Mhm.
people as you already know, they're a
Yeah.
blast.
It's so much fun. I'm really excited. I know some people that I haven't seen since I lived in San Diego are going to be at this comp, so I'm like, oh
That's
cool,
awesome.
I get to see
Yeah,
you again. Oh, that's so fun. Well, I know you got to go pick up your son. So where can people find you on the internet, or if there are any like events or
sure.
certifications or programs you'd like to plug?
So I actually just kind of went off of doing a few workshops. So I don't have anything until, well, right now on the books till October. So I created a course with Original Strength, and it's exploring circular patterns through the lens of original strength. So basically diving in on like why circular patterns could complement movements that you're already doing. So it's a deep dive into that. And so that is I think it's the weekend of like October 15th. And then I have a couple of like questionable workshops coming in the fall. So what I realized is like last year I did some during the summer, and that was like kind of like hectic and stressful. So I was like, okay, we're gonna take summer off and then go back into in the fall. So that's all I've got right now on the books, but might be doing a retreat at some point. I don't know yet. But on Instagram, at kelsbells88. You could DM or message me at any time. I'm pretty terrible with keeping up with technology with my website, but Kelly at kmmoves.com, and people could like email me there. I do online coaching by request. So that way I could kind of vet the person, see if we're a good fit or what they're looking for. What I've noticed, and I don't know if you have this issue, is the time change. So sometimes
Yes.
I get contacted and I like in time zones, it doesn't always like add up. So if that's the case, then I try to tend to refer the person to somebody in the coaching world that I think might fit for what they're looking for in that time
Yeah.
zone. But
That's part of why I got Calendly is because it sets it to their
yeah,
time zone, and I don't
yes.
have to think about it. I go, "If any of those times in that block works, let me know if I need to open it up." But these are basically the times I'm available, so that way I don't have
Yeah,
to,
that's a
like.
good idea. I know somebody else who's using that and they found it really, really helpful.
Yeah, I finally bit the bullet and started paying for it this year because 'cause I'm doing
Yeah.
the podcasting and then I'm doing, like, meetings, and it's just easier to, like, have it just scheduled through that so I don't have to
I
think.
wish I had like an assistant. Just
Yeah.
like keep up.
I mean, I don't do enough to have an assistant, but, the
I don't know
Calendly
if
is, like.
I have enough work for the person, but in my head, or like multiplicity, like Michael Keaton, like, multiply myself. So there's like
Yeah.
somebody.
It's been legitimately very helpful to just be like, "Here's the link, pick a time,
Yeah,
have at it," and they go, "Oh, okay," and then they pick their time, and then it just pops up in my calendar, and I go, "Cool, I got it, I'll see you then."
works. Yeah, I
Yep.
feel like we're really, you and I are, and people that we know in the community, we're really fortunate to do what we love for a living.
Yeah,
It's like amazing. I feel like
yeah.
so.
Insanely lucky that this is where I get to just, like, help people move better and be
I know.
strong.
It's awesome.
What a cool job.
It is. It is.
Thank you so much to Kelly for coming on to the pod. I so appreciate it. It was so good to get to chat with her. We've been interacting online for years and years, so it's really exciting to get to like do the face-to-face thing. Make sure you are following her on Instagram, kelsbells88, and I'll have all of her stuff linked in the show notes. Make sure you're following her also, so if you are in her area or wherever she does her workshops, that you are aware of them because they look so awesome and so informative. Also linked in the show notes are all of my socials and ways that you can work with me. If you are looking for a coach, I am taking on clients right now and would love to work with you. That is all I have for this week's episode. We have another awesome guest and another awesome episode happening real soon, so I'll see you then.